Welcome to A Peaceful Path, special education legal advocacy for families with children that have special needs.
Hey there, and welcome to A Peaceful Path, special education legal advocacy for families with children that have special needs with Michelle Becker. Michelle is a special education attorney and passionate advocate for families navigating the public school system. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're talking about extended school year services, what they are, who qualifies, and how to advocate when your child needs support beyond the traditional school year. Michelle, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. This is a really important conversation today.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn about it. So let's just start with the basics. What is extended school year, or ESY, and how is it different from, say, what we all know, summer school?
Yeah. So summer school it has generally been meant to mean just extra classes in summer. You know, you could take horsemanship, or you could take baton twirling, or you could take reading or creative writing. There was always, back in the day, summer school, when it was funded by states, to kind of further enhance and broaden a kid's, educational experience.
Sure.
And I imagine that it worked as daycare for some.
Yeah, I would guess so. Yeah.
However, extended school year is something very different. There are schools out there that still offer summer programs that are paid for by educational foundations within the city. But extended school year is actually special education summer school. And it's basically a continuation of the child's IEP for an additional 4 weeks into the summer. And basically, the reason for summer school or extended school year is for those kids that basically have disabilities that aren't going away, and not being in school will likely cause an interruption in their education that could impact regression, and then also make it difficult for them to recoup skills that they had learned the previous year in the new year. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of words just to say, look, your kid may forget the stuff they learned, and then it could take a really long time to learn it back. Yeah. So going to extended school year gives them an extra period of time to continue to learn those skills.
Who qualifies technically for these?
So you have to go through, every school district does it a little different, but there's like an ESY worksheet in your IEP. And you have to, IEPs are held annually. And as part of your IEP, there's a question as to whether or not you need extended school year. And extended school year basically extends all of the service minutes and addresses the goals that you were addressing during the school year, and includes them into this extended school year 4-week period. Okay. And during your IEP, you go through a worksheet that says, is there a chance of regression? Even if there was regression, is there time to recoup? And then it's probably like an 8 or 9 point worksheet that basically school districts have to fill out to determine whether or not a kid needs ESY. And if they do, it's very likely that it's going to change from year to year. Yes, they do. No, they don't. Yes, they do. No, they don't. Once it's kind of set, it pretty much is set, and your kid gets ESY. And in most cases, the people who qualify are really struggling. It's not like a kid who's almost at grade level and are going to forget their E's. This is a kid that maybe cognitively is doing great, but you know what? We need the counseling. So we may not need to work on any academic goals, or we may or may not need to work on speech goals, but we need to continue the counseling. So in that case, there may be some services that are included and some that are not, because again, it's anchored to regression and recoupment. It's also not for kids that just need to make stuff up. Like they were behind. Yeah, they're behind, and we just need to make it up. Now, ideally, if I were queen, I would have ESY for kids that just need to make stuff up. Because
Sure.
if they could make it up in the summer, they'd get off on a good start the next school year.
Yeah, they're ready to rock come August or September. Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm not queen,
No.
and that's not the way it works. So it is pretty constrained, and it is for very specific purpose. Now, I'll have some families who will say, no, I want my kid in ESY. Okay, but you're okay. The kid, if the kid is maybe behind in reading and maybe behind in math and maybe is getting speech, but the ESY class is for kids that are significantly delayed. This is not like you don't necessarily want to put your kid in with a very different population,
Yeah.
because you have a whole different set of issues maybe 4 weeks later. So, although ESY seems like it'd be valuable for everyone, it needs to be entered into with good information and a real understanding of what's going to happen over that next 4 weeks. Because even though it's just 4 weeks, you want to make the most of it if your kid needs to be in it. And then what are the possibilities if your kid doesn't need to be in it? Right? What other options does the school offer? What the educational foundations of most cities. Pasadena has the Pasadena Education Foundation. South Pasadena has the South Pasadena Education Foundation. And every city has their own education foundation or something like that produces a summer program that may be more beneficial for your kid that is not ESY.
You mentioned regression. What
Yes.
kinds of regressions do schools look for?
So if you've been working on an IEP goal, let's just say you really are trying to read. You're learning to read. You're in 5th grade and you're learning to read. And if you are going to basically lose, if it took you, and this is going to sound really bizarre, but it's not in real life. Let's say that you're trying to really master reading comprehension and understand who, what, where, the W questions, right? And it's taken you one semester. You have autism and you just can't relate to these really esoteric questions of who, what, where, when, and why, right? And you have finally mastered what who means. Who is a person? And you're not going to, and you're going to, okay, so you've mastered who is a person, who, Johnny, who, Kevin, who, Michelle, right on. If you are gone for 3 months and you have to come back and it takes you a semester to relearn who, you just missed out. Now, the argument, the argument is, well, what's 2 months versus 3 months? You get an extra month, but you're still going to be off for 2. I guarantee you there is no more amazing population than special ed parents. Like it is, I walk into some of these parents' houses because I do house calls. And I walk into some of these parents' houses and their living room is a classroom. And the things, their goals, the kids' goals, there's like little workstations for the kids' goals. And it's not like they're tiger moms or tiger parents, but the parents really understand the challenges that these kids face. And so they have embedded the kids' learning opportunities from school through the IEPs into the home so that the kids are not missing an opportunity to be exposed to what it is they're trying to learn. So I would say that these 4 weeks with the special ed teacher committed to them learning and remembering is going to help, because the parents are going to be right there those next 2 months doing exactly what was going on in school. Plus, whatever other remediation activities they have over the summer. I mean, the special ed parents are amazing people who just are relentless in making sure their kids get what they need.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Are the schools ever required to provide ESY, even if they say that the child doesn't qualify?
So it goes back to that due process
Okay.
question. If the district is like, no, they don't qualify, and the parents are like, yeah, my kid does, I've proven to you, like Christmas and Easter, when we break for Christmas and Easter and we come back, he doesn't remember anything, let alone when we come back in the fall. I've proven to you that how long it takes. So if the district is like, no, sorry, no, well, then you try to follow the informal process of resolving the issue. And if you can't, then you have to file due process. And then ultimately, if you're right and you fight and there's justice, you will win. And they'll cave and just give it to you because it's not worth it, right?
Yeah.
It's when you really boil it down, it's a kid's education. What exactly are you fighting for?
Right. What are you fighting? Why are you fighting against that? Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Exactly. And sometimes it does. Like I've had school districts where I have, during IEP meetings, proven out whether it's ESY or proven out why we need something. And it's like, no. And disengaged administrators, whatever. Sometimes even then with the informal, no. With the resolution, no. With the mediation, no. And then finally, they'll say, fine, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
But
You
it's,
wore us down.
yeah, I want you to help my kid.
Yeah,
That's what I want. And
exactly.
this is how I think you can help my kid.
And most parents are going to fight for their kids and what they need. I mean, let's be honest. In every aspect of life, we all parents understand that.
Exactly. And ESY is no different.
Yeah.
And if your kid needs it, you should fight for it. But the only way you win, and this we may have covered this in the resolution, the problem resolution session, but it's not to be gone into lightly. And you have to start building your case right from the get-go. It's not something that you just get mad and file due process because you will
Right.
lose.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, people lose 85% of the time in California. Parents lose 85% of the time. And it's not because they weren't right. It's because they didn't build their case.
They didn't go about it the right way. They
Exactly.
reacted emotionally and quickly, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you do it the right way, and again, it's not complicated. You have all of the data at your fingertips.
Right.
If you compile it and present it, it's undeniable. This stuff is not complicated.
Yeah, it's got to be tempting though. I pulled my kid out of a learn to skate class because I didn't like the way they were doing things, and I let him know about it. But I'm not a crazy parent, I promise. But I can totally understand why a parent with a special needs child who knows they need this stuff
Yeah.
it might react a bit too quickly or too, again, emotionally, or again, just react instead of plan. They just react.
Right.
And I hope that some of the parents out there are hear this show, because I really think that it's important to know that, especially that statistic of 85%. That's jarring.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is, I think it's because the way cases are presented, like I use IEPs as my, this is a big giveaway here, but it's a good one for parents. I use IEPs basically to understand where the opposing party stands. Like,
Right.
when do you ever get a chance to sit in front of your adversary? And I do say that just from a litigation standpoint. I
Sure.
do think that IEP teams, families, and school districts can work together. And I do think that they can work together despite disagreements. But there's no better time to gather your data than to sit and listen to what the teacher's saying,
Mm-hmm.
right? If they're going to say it in an IEP meeting, they're going to say it in front of a judge.
Absolutely.
You already know what they're going to tell the judge.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you build your case. You listen to what they all say in the IEP meetings. And
Mm-hmm.
then you understand where they're coming from. You know where you're coming from. You know how to build this. They do. The parents have so much more power than they know
Right.
because it's all right there in the performance, in the actual schoolwork, in their experience. And then the piece that's most difficult is the assessment data, but everything else is on their side if they're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and just one last thing on this notion of being adversary, an adversarial party. When parents call me, they'll often say, "Does bringing a lawyer in make the relationship more contentious?" And I would
Valid
say,
question.
yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah.
In my experience, it makes it better because I feel like I can model for the parents exactly how to handle the situation. And at the same time, the school district really does understand that they have somebody working with the parents who can see both sides of the story. And at, at the end of the day, I would say at the end of a meeting, what started off as two parties on either side of the table becomes one party working for one thing, which is the benefit of the kid. 9.9 out of 10 times, I will tell you, it works to the parent's advantage to bring in a lawyer who's wanting to collaborate and figure out how to help the kid.
Right. And what's
If you
best for
want to sue, you can have your two sides of the table. But if you want to help your kid solve the problems.
That's really good, that perspective. I think that's a really good perspective. Remember, don't think of it as a fight with the school. Think about it as what can we do to do what's best for my child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you go in with that perspective, you will end up with everyone on the same side of the table.
Yeah.
Eventually, if it's not the first meeting, eventually, because parents. I had this one. I don't know how much time we have left, but I had this
we're good.
I had this one parent who didn't have any assessments. They were young, adorable couple, and they went to the school district and said, "I want an IEE," and the school district denied them. Procedurally denied them because they'd never even had an assessment.
Mm-hmm.
How do you have an IEE when you haven't even had an assessment? And when they called me in because they wanted that IEE. And so I had to explain to them, I said, "Oh, so what do you do for a living?" "Oh, I drive a forklift." I said, "Okay, so what would you think if I came to you and said, I think that you need in your warehouse to use a lowboy to get that off of that shelf?" You tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I need to use that forklift because it raises up high enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would tell me no because I know what I'm doing and I wouldn't do what you're recommending. I said, well, that's the same thing with parents and school districts. Sometimes we ask for things, we don't even know what they are or if we're right. So I'm not saying
Especially these days when we see things on social media and we read,
totally.
so often we read headlines or a couple of sentences, but not the whole article or things like that. So we're very partially informed a lot of times.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
and that's why having an advocate when you really don't know what's going on or having a lawyer who is not motivated to litigate,
Mm-hmm.
you need to understand the landscape. And that's not a criticism of parents because parents are doing the best they can just to
Yeah.
get some research under their belts.
Oh, I mean, you're figuring everything out as you go, right? I mean, I've tried to figure out the schooling and all that stuff. It's a little complicated. It's more so than I would have thought. That's for sure.
Exactly. You don't just
Yeah.
send your kid across the street to the elementary school
Right.
and they learn to read
Right.
miraculously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say to parents in the ESY context or IEP or assessment or 504 plan, whatever it is, give yourself the space to learn and seek understanding from the school district. I'm not saying they're right. You are right. Parents are right 99% of the time. You just may not know what you're right about.
Right.
You could be
And
right
how to
about
get
the
there.
wrong thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So give yourself the space to kind of work through the issues because this is, like we talked about in the assessments section, what starts off as just not knowing 9 letters of the alphabet in 5th grade turns out to be dyslexia. That's a whole different situation that requires a whole different approach than just teaching letters. So
Than just summer school or getting an extra some extra work in. Yeah. For sure.
Exactly. So I would just say there's room for growth and an opportunity to help your kid that does not include a fight.
All right. Well, that's great stuff as always, Michelle. Thanks for joining us on A Peaceful Path. If you think your child may need services beyond the regular school year, don't wait for the school to bring it up. Visit michellebeckerlaw.com to get guidance from Michelle and make sure your child's plan includes everything you're entitled to. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Leave us a review. We greatly appreciate it. Michelle, I always greatly appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.